You don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go whack him. That's not there. And there's no sense of, for me and for a lot of people I knew, you didn't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go bring freedom. That wasn't your life. Your life was, I'm going to have to get in that Humvee or that tank and roll out there and not die. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go whack him. That's not there. And there's no sense of, for me and for a lot of people I knew, you didn't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go bring freedom. That wasn't your life. Your life was, I'm going to have to get in that Humvee or that tank and roll out there and not die.
You're afraid a lot when you're in this situation, and fear does not bring out the best in us. It brings out a lot of ugliness, and you really hate the people who make you feel afraid because you're ashamed of being afraid. And you become a racist because you simply see them as a mass, a dangerous mass. To some extent, you almost have to see them that way for your own protection.
There's a lot of Haji this and Haji that. Anything that's Arabic in Iraq, you know, it's Haji. You start to think that you and the guys around you are competent and alert, and you're going to take care of what situation arises. And you get kind of aggressive. I mean, somebody makes a wrong move and they have a machine gun swung on them.
I never heard the boom, crunch, only imagined it later. There was strong braking, followed by a great deal of shouting. Our striker moaned through its monstrous air brakes and then bumped, heaved, and finally ground itself to a halt.
6-7's in the ditch. Did they roll it? No, they're out. I think they're disabled. The colonel's vehicle okay?
The major said that we would need a combat lifesaver. Well, it wasn't combat. There were no lives left to save. But we dug out the CLS bag, because you never know, do you? And walked across a pitch-dark highway. Somebody was wailing in Arabic, hypnotically, repetitiously. A single car headlight was burning, a single shaft of light beaming across the road like an accusing finger. When tactical spotlights suddenly illuminated the little car, we found the source of the wailing. He was an older man, wearing a silver beard, a monumental red-veined nose, and a big, thick wool overcoat. He was hopping like a dervish, bowing rapidly from the waist and throwing his arms to the sky, then to his knees, over and over again in a kind of elaborate dance of grief. It's hard to describe the contents of the car. They had been a man only moments earlier that night. A cop or a fireman or a soldier would have simply said, "It's a mess in there." I used to be a fireman. I'm a soldier now. It was as bad a mess as I've seen. I squeezed into the crumpled passenger area, sat on the shattered glass, and tried to take the pulse from his passenger side arm. Nothing. And his neck. Nothing. I thought about CPR, but only for a moment. His left arm was mostly torn off, and the left side of his head was flattened. Up on the highway, GIs walked around, gave and took orders. And by the car, the victim's father still capered madly, throwing his arms around, crying out to God or anyone. I asked him, in my own language, to come with me, to calm down, to let me help him. We moved him into the striker, assuring him that no, we weren't arresting him, but he didn't care. Whenever he started to calm down, he would look toward the car, break into wails. 40 minutes later, a medic arrived. While the medic worked on him, the colonel's interpreter came over and fired a few questions at the man. It sounded like an interrogation. They'd been on their way back to Sinjar, just a few miles away. The younger man had been taking his father back from shopping. They were minutes from home. The young man had been a student. Engineering. With honors. The pride of the family. what we like to think of as Iraq's future. Finally, I had to ask, what does he keep saying? The Terp looked at me, disgusted, resigned, or maybe just plain tired. He says to kill him now. I walked away in Little Galwaz. A sergeant came up next to me, smoking. I didn't say anything. After a few moments in the black quiet, I overheard him say, "It wasn't anyone's fault. It was just an accident." I know. Inhale. Cherry glow. Long exhale. Why we gotta drive in black out here, I don't get. If 6-7 turned their lights on a couple seconds earlier. Yeah, I know. And he went to help carry the young man's remains into the sudden light show of ambulances and police jeeps, surrounded by young Arabic men with steely eyes. I went and sat on the back gate of the Stryker. I felt the cold creep into me. The old man sat next to me, perhaps too tired to continue his tirade against cruel fate, careless Americans, war and its accidents. I haven't lost a full-grown son, just a little daughter, a baby, and she wasn't torn from me in a terror of rending steel, stamped out by a sudden monster roaring out of the night. She went so quietly that her passing never woke her mother. I like to think she kissed her on the way out, on her way home. But still, sitting on the steel tail of that monster that killed his son, I think maybe I knew just how one Iraqi man felt. Just kill me now. We sat and looked straight into the lights.